Welcome back to our channel. Hope you have relaxing moments listening to stories. Never did I imagine I would find myself in such a predicament, caught between my devotion to my husband and the disquieting truth of the moment that had just unfolded. Yet, life has a unique way of guiding you into unexpected moments that compel you to reevaluate everything you believed about trust, respect, and your own essence. It all began on a crisp autumn evening. My husband, James, had warmly invited a few colleagues over for an intimate dinner gathering. It felt familiar. James had dedicated nearly 20 years to his firm, and in that time, I had developed a deep familiarity with many of his colleagues. Some had blossomed into friendships, individuals with whom I would share holiday greetings and engage in light conversations at company gatherings. Yet, there was something uniquely captivating about Adrian. Adrian had recently embarked on his journey with the company, having stepped through its doors about a year ago. He was younger than James, perhaps in his early 40s, exuding a confidence and charm that seemed to draw people in effortlessly. He possessed a unique ability to transform each conversation into a shared moment, where every compliment felt like a whispered secret, meant solely for your ears. It wasn't until that night that I truly began to reflect on it. We envisioned a lovely dinner together. The house was filled with the fragrant embrace of rosemary and garlic wafting from the roasted chicken in the oven, while the soft flicker of candlelight cast a warm, inviting glow throughout the space. James radiated joy, his laughter mingling with the warm conversations of his coworkers, while I embraced the role of the attentive host, ensuring drinks flowed freely and everyone felt at ease. Adrian made his entrance a bit later than the rest, a bottle of wine in hand and his familiar, charming smile lighting up the room. "Hope I'm not too late to the party," he said, offering me the wine as his fingers lingered over mine just a moment longer than needed. I brushed aside the fleeting unease, attributing it to the whims of my mind. The evening unfolded, and with each sip, the conversations deepened, becoming more vibrant and intimate. James was engrossed in a conversation with his boss about an upcoming project, while I found myself entangled in a dialogue with Adrian. He was captivating as ever, yet there was an undercurrent in his words this evening, something deeper, more intense. "You know, Julia," he said, his voice flowing like a gentle caress. "It's clear that James possesses a rare fortune." I chuckled softly, letting the remark drift away like a gentle breeze. "Indeed, I find myself feeling fortunate as well." Adrian leaned in just a bit, his eyes locked with an unwavering intensity. "If I were in his place, I would find it impossible to be apart from you." There it was, that undeniable change in atmosphere. An uneasy feeling settled in my chest. I sensed he shared my feelings, I remarked softly, wishing to gently shift the direction of our conversation. Yet Adrian remained resolute. As the night deepened, his words grew more daring, subtle yet seemingly innocent observations that, when woven together, revealed a deeper, more deliberate intention. A brief touch on my arm, one that felt unexpectedly intimate, a gaze that carried an unspoken weight, a soft comment murmured near my ear, sending a delicate tremor through me. I reassured myself that I was perhaps being overly dramatic. Perhaps it was the wine that stirred something within. Perhaps it was simply Adrian's innate allure. As the evening drew to a close and James escorted the final guests out, Adrian lingered for a moment, savoring the lingering atmosphere. "It was truly lovely to share this moment with you tonight," he said. His voice had taken on a deeper timbre, his expression shrouded in mystery. "I long for the chance to experience this once more. Perhaps only the two of us, at some point." I hesitated, taken aback by the weight of his words, leaving me to question if I had truly grasped his words. Yet the gaze in his eyes, accompanied by the subtle curve of his lips, revealed to me that I had indeed made an impression. Before I had the chance to speak, James came back, warmly patting Adrian on the back. "I'm so pleased you could join us, my friend. Take care on the road." Adrian offered a soft smile, his gaze lingering on mine for a fleeting moment before he turned and stepped through the door. I remained still, my heart racing with an intensity that took my breath away. Could it be that this moment had truly unfolded? I hardly took in James's voice as he secured the place for the night, his tone casual and oblivious. That felt quite lovely, wouldn't you agree? It felt like everyone was enveloped in joy. I summoned a smile. Indeed, it was a delightful evening. As I lay in bed that night, gazing at the ceiling, an undeniable sense of change lingered in the air, wrapping around me like a soft embrace. A shift had occurred. And within me, I sensed that this was far from the end. The following morning, I stirred awake, feeling an unusual weight resting upon my heart. The house was enveloped in stillness, with only the soft, distant sound of James in the kitchen, likely preparing his familiar Saturday morning coffee. I reassured myself that I was simply overanalyzing, that Adrian was merely embodying his typical, enchanting demeanor, and that I had perhaps interpreted his words with too much depth. Yet, despite my efforts to push it away, the echo of his voice, the intensity of his gaze, the gentle touch of his fingers on mine, all clung to me like a whisper in the dark. I gently set my thoughts aside and rose from the warmth of my bed, enveloping myself in my robe before making my way downstairs. "Good morning, Han," James said with a warm smile as he offered me a steaming mug of coffee. "Did you find rest in your slumber?" "Yes," I deceived, savoring the moment with a sip. He remained unaware of my uncertainty, seamlessly transitioning to his next idea. "Oh, and just so you know, Adrian reached out to me this morning. He expressed that he truly enjoyed our time together last night and is eager to meet again soon." I almost found myself gasping on my coffee. James appeared oblivious. I suggested that we embark on a double date together. Perhaps an intimate dinner at that charming new steakhouse downtown. In that moment, uncertainty lingered in the air. Every fiber of my being urged me to decline, to conjure an excuse, any justification to keep myself away from Adrian's presence once more. Yet, what was I meant to do? Please let my husband know that his colleague has overstepped boundaries. I am uncertain about their intentions, but their actions have left me feeling uneasy. I was guided by an instinct, a whisper of emotion rather than tangible evidence. Instead, I summoned a smile. "That feels lovely." James smiled warmly. "Wonderful, I'll arrange everything." The week that followed, I tried earnestly to set the entire experience aside. I immersed myself in a flurry of activities, reconnecting with old friends and engaging in errands, all to prevent my thoughts from wandering back to Adrian. But then, unexpectedly, a message appeared on my screen. "Adrian, your words lingered in my mind, a melody that lingers in the air, evoking a warmth that dances softly within me. Greetings, Julia. I hope your day is unfolding beautifully. I find myself lost in thoughts of our conversation from the other night." A flutter stirred within me. I gazed at the message, my fingers lingering just above the keyboard. Perhaps I could have turned away, maybe I should have turned away. Yet a part of me felt the need to express that what he believed was unfolding was not the reality. "Is it me? Hello, Adrian. It seems there may have been a slight misinterpretation. I am content in my marriage, and I kindly ask that we maintain a professional relationship." I pressed send and exhaled softly, wishing that this moment would bring closure. Moments later, my phone vibrated once more. "Adrian," your words lingered in my mind with a soft longing. "Absolutely, Julia. I appreciate that deeply." Simply expressing a thought. What if the circumstances shifted? I tightened my jaw, a wave of emotion washing over me. He continued, unwavering. I remained silent. 2 days later, the double date unfolded. I thought about backing out, crafting a reason to avoid it, yet I hesitated, not wanting to draw any attention. So, I arrived, adorned in a simple navy dress, my face reflecting a serene yet inviting demeanor. Adrian and his beloved Charlotte were already nestled in their seats when we arrived. Charlotte possessed a gentle spirit, her voice a soothing melody, radiating kindness. She gazed at her husband with an adoration that suggested he was her entire universe. It stirred a deep unease within me. Adrian exuded a captivating charm, weaving humor into the air, ensuring the conversation flowed effortlessly, as if the past held no weight at all. But I noticed it, the fleeting looks exchanged when the world was unaware, the gentle touch of his knee against mine beneath the table, the way he leaned in just a fraction closer while offering me the wine bottle. A sense of confinement enveloped me. And then, at one point in the evening, while Charlotte and James were engaged in conversation, Adrian leaned in, his voice barely above a whisper, just for my ears, and said, "You're even more beautiful when you're nervous." I stood still, caught in the moment. My heart raced, a thrilling tension coursing through me as I turned to meet his gaze. He offered a smirk, delicate and almost imperceptible. I knew I had to make a choice that would define the moment. Allow it to drift away, as I have done in the past, or bring this to a close at this moment. I inhaled deeply, then let my voice rise, ensuring that James and Charlotte could catch my words. "Adrian, I feel that the way you're speaking to me isn't quite right." A hush enveloped the table. James's gaze lifted suddenly. Charlotte blinked, a wave of uncertainty washing over her. And Adrian just gazed at me, his playful smile fading as the weight of my actions settled in. James's brow furrowed in contemplation. "What is this?" Adrian released a soft, hesitant chuckle. "It was merely a playful jest." "It didn't seem like one," I replied softly. Charlotte glanced back and forth, a hint of concern etching her features. "Adrian." He gently shook his head, a soft smile gracing his lips. "It was simply a moment of confusion. Let's keep this comfortable." Yet, the tension lingered in the air, and I found myself unfazed. James's gaze met mine, a blend of uncertainty and care flickering in his eyes. "Julia, how are you feeling?" Our gazes intertwined, and in that moment, I revealed my deepest truth to him. "I find myself questioning my place in this moment," I confessed softly. James remained silent, his curiosity lingering in the air. He simply nodded and rose to his feet. "Then let us embark on this journey together." Adrian parted his lips, as if words were about to spill forth, but I chose not to linger for his voice to reach me. I took hold of my purse, casting a regretful glance at Charlotte, and stepped out of the restaurant, my husband beside me. Uncertainty lingered in the air, leaving me curious about what might unfold. Yet, there was an undeniable truth: this was far from the end. The journey home in the car was filled with a gentle stillness. James's gaze lingered on me, an unspoken question hanging in the air, while I found myself lost in the world outside the window, my mind a swirl of emotions. At last, as we glided into the driveway, his voice broke the silence. "Julia, what transpired in that moment?" I released a breath, my fingers tightening around my purse. "Help me express this in a way that feels right. Come closer and see what unfolds." His voice was soft, yet it carried an undercurrent of something deeper, perhaps worry, or even a hint of frustration. I faced him, selecting my words with intention. "Adrian has been stirring feelings of unease within me." James's brow knitted in contemplation. "Could you clarify what you mean?" I took a deep breath. That evening after dinner at our home, he felt intimately close. The gentle brush of his fingers against my hand, the intensity of his gaze upon me. I dismissed it as inconsequential. Yet, a few days later, he reached out, sharing that thoughts of our conversation lingered in his mind. James's fingers curled around the steering wheel, a subtle tension coursing through him. And this evening, I pressed on. He whispered something that lingered in the air, leaving a trace of discomfort behind. I attempted to manage it alone, yet I came to understand that silence would only prolong the struggle. James's jaw tightened, his knuckles pale with tension. "Julia, why didn't you share this with me earlier?" As uncertainty lingered in my mind, I found myself confessing my doubts. "I wanted to be mindful of your professional relationship, not wanting to create any complications for you at work." James shook his head, his eyes deep with an intensity one seldom witnessed. "Passion. You are my beloved partner. Your needs are paramount. Forever." His words wrapped around me, creating a warmth that eased the weight on my chest, allowing me to finally draw in a breath. Yet, this was far from the end. The following morning, I stirred awake to discover James in the kitchen, a cup of foam cradled in his hand, his demeanor reflecting a quiet intensity. "What troubles your heart?" I inquired. He released a gentle sigh. "Adrian reached out to me through a message. He's attempting to maintain a facade of normalcy, expressing a desire that the events of last night didn't stir any unwarranted tension." I let out a soft, dismissive laugh. Unwanted tension. Incredible. James's gaze met mine. "I wish for you to be free from this burden, to find peace and solace." I plan to have a heartfelt conversation with him at work, in person. A moment of uncertainty washed over me. "Do you truly feel that way?" He stepped beyond what was acceptable, James expressed with conviction. "Time and again. I must express that this is simply not acceptable." There was a warmth in his voice that assured me he would pursue this further, and truthfully, it brought me a sense of comfort. That afternoon, while James was at work, I attempted to carry on with my day as normal, yet an undeniable sense lingered within me, a whisper that Adrian wouldn't simply fade away without making his presence felt. And I knew it all along. As the clock approached 3 p.m., my phone vibrated softly, drawing my attention. "Adrian, I think we should be clear about maintaining boundaries. May we share a moment together? Only we exist in this moment." A shiver danced along my spine. No response received. A short while later, a new message arrived. "Adrian, please, Julia. Let's approach this with maturity." I clenched my jaw, my heart racing with intensity. The boldness. I decided to cut off communication with him. After that, I reached out to James. As James stepped through the door that evening, a weariness clung to him, yet his resolve shone brightly. "What transpired?" I inquired softly as he placed his briefcase on the floor. He gently swept his fingers through his hair, a soft gesture that spoke volumes. I faced him. I felt a wave of tension wash over me. And James let out a breath, a soft release of tension. Initially, he attempted to play it off as a mere jest, suggesting that I was being overly sensitive. Yet, I expressed my feelings openly. "He is to remain out of your life from this moment forward. Always. And if he so much as glances at you in a way that unsettles you, I will ensure our boss is fully aware of the true nature of his character." I gently bit my lip. And he simply embraced that reality. James's expression deepened with intensity. Initially, it wasn't that way. He became guarded. "You called me absurd, suggesting that you were taking control of the situation. Yet, I expressed my unwavering trust in you." And that marked the conclusion of our conversation. A wave of emotion surged within me, tightening my throat. "Did you truly go through with that?" "Indeed, I did," he murmured gently. "Julia, my unwavering support will always be by your side. No one should have to face such challenges in solitude." A wave of feeling washed over me. For days, I felt a weight upon my heart, uncertain of how to navigate the delicate situation, anxious about the impact it would have on James. Yet here I am, in our shared space, absorbing the steadfast conviction in his words, and a long-buried feeling stirs within me once more. Secure. I embraced him, drawing him close to me. "I'm grateful." His lips brushed softly against the crown of my head. "Your safety is a gift I cherish, no gratitude needed." And for the first time in days, I felt a deep sense of trust in him. Yet, beneath the surface, an undeniable sensation lingered within me. Adrian possessed a quiet strength that made him resilient in the face of challenges. I found myself questioning whether this truly marked the end. I longed to think that it had come to an end. James's warning lingered in Adrian's mind, compelling him to retreat and never return. Yet, within the depths of my being, I held a deeper understanding. And I knew it all along. 2 days later, I found myself in the grocery store, gliding my cart through the produce aisle, when an unexpected sensation washed over me. An essence. A shadow hovering, intimate and near. I turned, and a wave of emotion washed over me. "Adrian, my heart whispers your name like a gentle breeze, stirring emotions deep within me. He lingered a few feet away, his gaze drifting over a row of apples as if he were drawn to their vibrant allure, a moment of serendipity in the air. Yet, I was aware of the truth within me. The store lay on the other side of town from his office. He found himself in a place that felt unfamiliar, a sense of longing tugging at his heart. My heart raced with anticipation. I contemplated walking away, yet a part of me held back, unwilling to reveal my vulnerability to him. I straightened my posture, grasped a bag of oranges, and pretended he was a mere shadow in the background. Yet, he remained oblivious to the subtle cues. "Julia," he murmured softly. "What a delightful surprise to find you here." I remained silent. He moved in closer. "There's no reason for unkindness. It seems there may have been a gentle miscommunication between us." I turned to face him, my heart racing with anticipation. "There is a clear connection, Adrian. Your actions have created a distance between us, and I believe it's best for you to keep your distance." His smile wavered. "Let's embrace this moment. There's no need for theatrics." "Intense?" My voice was soft yet resolute. "Reaching out to me after I chose to distance myself? Arriving in this moment? That feels unusual, Adrian." His expression shifted, and in that moment, I caught a glimpse of the truth beneath the surface. "You know," he said, tilting his head, a hint of warmth in his voice. "James is truly fortunate. Take care, Julia. A woman like you draws the gaze of those around her. Some of it carries a weight that lingers." A shiver coursed through me. This was more than mere determination. This served as a gentle reminder. I locked eyes with him, determined to shield my vulnerability from his view. "Are you trying to intimidate me?" Adrian raised his hands, a familiar, playful smirk dancing across his lips. "Not in the slightest. Simply sharing a thought." I turned and walked away, a tremor coursing through my hands. I left my cart behind and hurried to my car, securing the doors as soon as I settled in. My phone found its way into my hand before I even noticed the movement. I reached out to James. James returned home sooner than he typically would that evening. He was filled with a deep, seething intensity. "Did he pursue you?" he inquired, his voice laced with a simmering intensity. "Yes," I said, and his intentions were not merely unsettling, James. He was attempting to evoke a sense of fear within me. James breathed out slowly, moving thoughtfully around the kitchen. "That's all there is. I'm ready to embrace my true feelings." I took a deep breath. "What will you choose to do?" His gaze found mine. "I'm heading to see our boss. And if that doesn't resolve things, I will have to reach out to HR. Adrian is not afforded this opportunity. Not for you. To no one at all." For the first time since this began, I sensed a gentle transformation within me. A burden eased, for I found solace in shared experience. Adrian attempted to diminish my strength, yet I remained unyielding. Not any longer. The following day, James took the step of submitting a formal complaint to HR. Adrian must have sensed he had crossed a line, for by the week's end, he chose to step away from the company. Whispers traveled swiftly, hinting at personal motivations and the allure of new horizons awaiting beyond. Yet, James and I were aware of the deeper reality. He had departed. And for the first time in weeks, I felt the air fill my lungs once more. That weekend, James and I lingered on the back porch, captivated by the fading light of the sunset. "Are you feeling all right?" he inquired softly, his fingers intertwining with mine. I gave a gentle nod. "Yes, I believe I have reached that point at last." James breathed out softly, his thumb gliding gently over my hand. "I wish I had recognized it earlier. I ought to have. I severed our connection. It wasn't you, he was the one at fault. Your presence was a comforting embrace during my time of need. That is what truly holds significance." He drew me nearer, placing a tender kiss on my forehead. "Forever. I smiled softly, leaning my head against his shoulder. This entire experience had been a haunting journey, yet it revealed profound truths about myself, about James, and the deep bond we shared. Adrian had attempted to release me from his grasp. Yet ultimately, he only served to illuminate the depth of my own strength. Thank you for listening, have fun and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to update the latest stories.